Hey Nikki. Yeah, this is kind of a tricky assignment, but if when I was learning how to use the software, I would like these tutorials. I probably would have gone through these Photoshop ones several times. Um, I don't think the illustrators are that good, but I mean the Photoshop ones, I would just really go over them, and not all in one sitting. I would spend you know, I would also try to spend a couple days on these things instead of trying to finish them in one sitting, like at the last minute, because it just makes it really hard and it gets frustrating. So with yours, I'm not quite sure where did it go? Whoops, shoot, just a second. There it is. I'm a little unclear what you're trying to do with this design. I just want to point out a few things that are working and a few things that could be improved. Now this form here looks pretty good in terms of creating some depth. I mean, I'm not sure if you're trying to create an environment or you're trying to create, a bunch of floating shapes in space. It's just a little bit hard for me to understand what you're doing. That's why it's kind of good to post what you were trying to do. Stephanie said she was trying to make these little spaceships, and that kind of clues me into what you're doing. So in terms of creating a little bit more depth with this, the drop shadows really make things look flat. They don't add to help create depth at all. Now this shape works really good because you can see how it's getting smaller. You might want to add a line going across here, and then it would kind of look like, a room. I don't know, I opened it in Photoshop. So, with the line tool here, you could go and add something like, I don't know how this is going to look, but again, this could be like the back wall or something. And then you kind of end up having, a different environment. I don't know. That's one way to look at it. You could also, when you say the gradients, if you look up here in one of these examples, see how the gradients are applied to these spheres. And again, in the tutorial, it kind of goes over how to do this. So you might want to look closely at that. And you can see here, one way that depth is created is because they're getting smaller. And again, that's things that are in the background smaller look like they're further away. So that's a main way to create depth. And also with these forms here, and one way to create volume and solidity is again to use shading. See how this is shaded here with dark and light? And again, the gradient really helps add, make them look like they're spheres and not just flat circles. So again, a couple different things you can do. I'm not sure why the gradient's added right here. And again, if I knew what you were trying to do more, I could probably help a little bit more. So again, I would just, look back at the examples and just think about what you're trying to achieve here. Is this an interior room? What's the purpose of these filters? And what's the arrangement? You've got this one floating and this one here. I mean, if you simplified and you had a couple different, like circles and just made them smaller, you don't need to make a bunch of extra stuff. You don't. I mean, you can later, but at first I would really stick to just the basics. And again, one way to do that too is just to really look at those videos. So anyway, yeah, let me know if you find this useful, and that's my main suggestion. I mean, you can go into your layers, and I hope that you have a lot of layers, and get rid of these objects. And I don't know what this is for here, and then maybe try one of these and just make a really big one and just make them smaller, just like this side is smaller and this is bigger, and that's a good way to create depth. And again, just spend some time with the gradient, because that will also help create the the sense of volume and solidity. Okay, happy 4th.